What's up, guys? Maritime Spook here, and I got something cool to show you here, guys. If you watched my Instagram yesterday, you would have saw this baby right here, and this is the Hexa by Uberleben, and it is a six-sided ferrocerium rod. And what makes a six-sided ferrocerium rod better, in my opinion, so far, is because when you are using the striker or the back of your knife or anything else, you're coming in more contact with the rod than you would be if it was rounded off. Very, very cool. And what that adds up to, guys, is the old adage, well, I guess you'll say, the easier it is to do, the better chance you have of starting a fire. If you have trouble with a ferrocerium rod for different reasons, you're cold and it's shaking and just anything like that, that could be obviously a pretty big problem. And some people say, well, I just use a cigarette lighter. Well, if you just took a dump in a canoe, are you going to use a cigarette lighter then? So my opinion, and a lot of other people who are, make the outdoors their, business to find out things, or some people even as instructors will say, having a ferro rod is their number one way. Besides knowledge, it's great. You can run out and make a bow drill. But, is to a lot of people, the best way to ensure you're going to get a fire in adverse conditions is a ferrocerium rod. So, any way you can make it a bit easier than it was before is a win-win. So, what they did, guys, as I said, they made it a different shape altogether. And as far as I know, it's the first one I've ever seen. Although people always come afterwards and say, oh, well, they had this one had one of that. Well, it's the first one I've ever seen, guys, so I'm showing you, my first bit of information on it. I've had it for a couple days, thrown a lot of sparks with it in the last couple days, and kind of concentrated it on one end. And I think you could do that. It was wear out each side, a different side at a different time. But there is a lot of sparks. They say at least 20,000, and the sparks are coming off at 5,500 degrees. So it's a powerful rod with lots of powerful molten sparks. So I really like it. But I will say this right now, guys, it is going to be one of those things where you're going to have to get one and just try it out for yourself. The reason I say that is because it's just one of those type of tools. You may get it and think that it's the best thing since sliced bread, or you may get it and think it isn't. When I first got it and used it, I said, I like it. I like where they went with it. It does work better, but that's always my opinion, right? So I'll kind of show you up close, and then we'll just do a little bit there, like some fat wood with it. But what it sort of attributes to me is when you have, and I'll use the knife just because it's a little bit bigger. When you have a normal ferrocerium rod, which this one's obviously an Uberleben one too, if you follow the channel, you're coming into contact with just whatever is right there. Like you can see right there, the shadow of it, that's what the contact is. And it's on the rounded part. And yes, you're going to be able to get fires going with that. These Uberleben rods are great. I've been using them for years now. There's nothing wrong with getting a fire going with that. But if you wanted to get at what would be easier to get a fire going with, when you have the Hexa, and you can see in the shadow there, when you have this that way, your 90-degree spine is in contact with the entire flat piece of this rod. So when you're pulling back on this, and you get a spark like every time, and if you know what I mean, if you have a ferro rod, some of them, guys, you'll get the spark, you'll get it, and you'll miss on it. You'll miss a one or two if you're pulling back, and you'll miss, and you'll, like, say you won't get a spark, and then you'll get a spark, or you'll get a couple sparks, and then you'll miss on it. What I found with this Hexa, you get sparks, and hot sparks, every time you pull that back, or every time you scrape down. You're getting like a molten amount of sparks. So, as I said, guys, going to be something that you're going to want to pick up yourself and try, or try your buddies and see if you like it. If you're asking my opinion on it, I would say get one. They're not paying me to say this or anything like that. I do a little bit of testing some gear for them once in a while. But this is one product, guys, I wholeheartedly have no problem endorsing through them or anybody else, because of that very thing. As I said, guys, when I was doing a lot of different things, that's what I did for the motion of it. There were times that I was missing sparks on a rounded rods, different ones, not just Uberludens, every rod that was rounded. And with this one, I had no trouble whatsoever with sparks. Every time I wanted to pull back and get sparks, I got them. So anyway, guys, I got a little bit of fat wood done up here. You know, there's not, with a ferro rod, there isn't a lot of things you can go out and do with it besides show you some sparks and light something. So we'll do that now. But when you see it in videos, guys, you know, I will make mention of it and how the progression of how it's working out is coming along, because I plan on carrying this as, you know, for the duration here as pretty much my main rod to use. And that's one other thing too, guys. One of my things that I kind of subscribe to, and Dave Canterbury, different people have said sort of the same thing. It's awesome to have a ferro rod, you know, on your knife sheath or around your neck or something like that, but your main ferrocerium rod should be a big one. At least, you know, this is a 6-inch one. I know there are bigger ones out there, but this is a good size ferro rod. And that's one thing with dexterity. If you're shaking or cold, you're going to be able to get fires going better with your main rod, which would be a big one. And especially where this one has that flat surface, it's just going to be a win-win. So just bear with me, guys. We'll swing everything around, and I'll show you some sparks going into some fat wood with this thing. So as I say, guys, you know, I like this. Striker does work, and it'll throw sparks. You know, there's no knock in the striker it comes with. You know, it throws them. But just my dexterity, the way I do things, I like to use the back of my knife. And I find that I just get better sparks out of it. So we'll drop a few. I can drop them right in like this by pulling down. And as you can see, guys, on every pull, I'm dropping lots of sparks, lots of hot sparks. And I'm just shooting everywhere because I'm not really aiming on it. That one's even still going. But if I were to take it down and just put it right in like so, you know, there you go, guys. So, Uberleben Hexa, guys, 6-sided ferrocerium rod. I think it's a winner. You know, 150,000%, it's a winner to me. I like how it throws the sparks. I like how the idea behind it with the flat surface meeting, you know, meeting a flat surface. And my number one thing that I like the best is that on every pull you're getting sparks because it's flat. So anyway, guys, Spook signing out. Check one of these out, guys. It's something you're going to have to check out for yourself and see if you like it. The 6-sided ferrocerium rod by Uberleben, the Hexa. Stay safe, guys.